sugar industry. So let us see what is done on that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dhruv, you have agriculture, you wanted to raise something.
Sir, I cannot belabor a point more than my colleague has said, but our productivity, to give an example of sugarcane, for 30 years has not improved even 1%. And in the same time, Brazil, South Africa have gone up by over 20 to 50%. 50 million farmer families are involved in this. The lead can be taken by the center. So it's a question that this is the right year when we have a surplus. Next year with the monsoon we may have a shortage. The timing, sir, for this is the next few months. And what happens with commodities is that when we are short, we go into the international market, the prices go up, so the imports are. So it is a very negative thing for food inflation. So, sir, this is your stewardship that can take 50 million farmer families first. The sugar industry is next. Thank you.
We have more questions on agriculture. Ajay and Rakesh, you on agriculture?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Hari. Sir, on this issue of sugar, if I may please also add, since I have this forum to share some thoughts with you. So sugar industry really unfortunately has become a political punching bag. We are actually getting hit from all sides, and if one sees, as been mentioned by my colleagues, that we are in a situation where the farmer 3 years ago did not get paid for 2 years because of the abnormal relationship between the sugarcane price and the sugar price. Having a high sugarcane price, a low sugar price, and a viable industry is not possible. So I think the rationality between these two, and sir, there is a committee which has been set up to link the percentage of the sugarcane price based on sugar price. My request is that could be expedited to come out with their report and then implemented across the board, including all the states. I think that will make a difference. And secondly, as my colleague here, Rashri, said, that decontrol is ultimately the solution for the sugar industry. So I want to make one more suggestion on agriculture. The key actually is going to be on the supply side, where in the long term and the medium term, we have to improve the availability of food grain. Our productivity today, compared to any international standard or productivity norms per acre or per hectare, are very low. As per FAO, there is a projection that by 2050, the world will need 70% more food than today. India will require maybe 100% more. But our productivity is very low. The only way it can be achieved, I feel, is by extension services where knowledge is transferred to that half-acre farmer so that the productivity on that half-acre or 1 acre goes up from today's level by 20%, 50%, 100%, so that there is enough food for the farmer's need and surplus for selling. So this extension services is a key area which can deliver results for improved productivity and food security. My request is, like in R&D, there is tax advantages or breaks given for research work. Extension services is being done by many fertilizer companies, sugar companies and others. If we can get some incentives, some encouragement to set up structured agricultural development people who can actually take up this work of extension services, that will go a long way in improving food security and increasing productivity and income to the farmers. Rakesh. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to thank you for your continuous focus on agriculture. But sir, I was a bit surprised, one point which just Ajay raised. Once again, the average weighted deduction of 200% on R&D in agriculture and extension services has been missed out. And this was raised last year also, and we were very sure that this will be, because if the private sector investment has to come in, sir, this is something which we are looking at. The second point I wanted to make, sir, if we can look at the entire agri-value chain, getting the priority sector status on funding from the banks. The cold chain, the logistics, the food processing industry. My understanding is that the priority sector lending, the funds do lapse every year. And if this can be extended to the entire agri-value chain, I see huge, large private sector investments coming into this area. And so the last point, while you did mention in your budget speech on the APMC reforms, unfortunately, the state governments are not moving on that, and we had made a strong recommendation for taking out horticulture and perishable produce out of the APMC Act. So may I suggest, I know this is going to be a bit difficult, but if the funding to the states on agriculture can be conditional of their putting this into place of taking the horticulture and agri-produce out of the APMC Act, the farmer may be given the freedom to sell in the mandi or directly to the food processor retailers. I believe the wastages which are happening in the entire value chain will be taken care of, and food inflation to some extent. Thank you, sir.
I think all the agriculture questions.
Thank you very much for very valuable suggestions which have come from the various participants. I think there is no discordant views about the basic tenor of the questions and comments which have been made, that we require enhancement of productivity. For that we must transfer knowledge to the field. There comes massive application of the extension services. And keeping that in view, when I just enhance the weighted deduction for research and development, it is not merely for the academic exercise and to be confined only to the laboratories. The benefit is to be extended to the farms, extended to the field. Agricultural research should get encouraged. Agricultural universities, Krishi Vigyan Kendros, all these things are to be revamped so that all these could be connected together to achieve the desired results. And there comes the questions of overall improvement of this. Of course, we are going to take it up with the Agricultural Ministry. He is also working on it. And to have a review of the institutions related to agricultural research which are spreading all over the country, what contribution they are making, what are the areas of the deficiency which are to be made up, and we shall have to take that steps. I know certain industries are making, certain organizations, agricultural universities and research organizations are doing good job, but many others are not doing that. They are just stereotyped. So what is required, that we shall have to give a bit push to it. Second point which I shall have to keep in mind.
And that is the CII body in discussion with the Finance Minister, touching upon a whole host of subjects. One of them was on GST. It's a win-win situation, but it will require the support of the centre and the state. They also went on to talk about increasing the scope of the definition of the infrastructure space, giving an increased thrust on education, and lastly touching upon the entire agricultural space to increase the mechanization, to improve the productivity, and ending it with the hope on decontrol of the entire sugar space.